For close to 100 years, the Taradale Town Hall has played a pivotal role in the lives of Taradale citizens. In 1906, the local borough council raised £3,000 to build a town hall. This was duly completed in 1911, and with the issuing of a contract to show movies in 1912, the hall soon became a very popular place for people to spend their leisure time. Not only did it have a 600-seat theatre, but it also housed the town library, a supper room, the town clerk's office, and council chambers. In 1931, the hall was totally destroyed in the Napier earthquake, but a new loan of £2,500 was raised and a replacement hall opened in 1932. It had reduced facilities, having a hall with a stage and a supper room. However, it continued to serve its community well, with movies, dances, wartime concerts and drama groups to name a few. It was the hall's supper room which became the headquarters of the Rotary Club of Taradale in 1959, so starting 50 years of productive association for the benefit of the club and the community.
The wall to the supper room started from this point over here, running to that wall, and on this side was the supper room only. It was bare floors, bare walls, and very stark.
But by 1976, the lounge, then half the size of the current one, was attempting to accommodate over 70 members. Let's go and talk to members who remember those days.
And the tables were just straight, flat, unvarnished bare. They'd been used for years in the supper room, and we didn't have any covers on them at all, so you were eating on bare boards.
And you were sitting on benches.
It was just like school, really.
If anybody came and we never ran short of room, you just squeezed up a bit more.
Somebody sat over the crack. It's hard to believe that we were all able to get in that room when you think back. Because
Stuart Lothian, and he was faced with luncheon sausage, and 2 slices of that was too much for Stuart, so he was out the door.
I actually received from Stuart a roll of ram sausage in the mail, complaining about the meal.
Smokers were asked to refrain from their habit until after coffee was served. Is this what really happened in the Rotary Club way back then, guys?
You put up the cigars and you put up chocolates. So
if there's 100% attendance?
If there's 100% attendance, yes. And I had 2 of them. And fortunately I smoked cigars, I was quite happy with the fact, but just about, I would say 80% of the club smoked.
And we told him we'd put his pipe up on the shelf, but he wouldn't stop smoking.
For 5 years, the club looked for a new hall to accommodate their meetings. They considered a new golf clubhouse at Waiheke, but that proved too expensive. They were very hopeful that a new St John's Hall that was in the planning would solve their problems. And Ron Munro and Win Ginty held a favourable meeting with the board. So Ian, during your time, a fund was established to assist St John's of $1,000.
Yeah, when it became obvious that we had to find something bigger to accommodate the membership, I was on the committee to look at different venues, and one of the venues we looked at, which is now the St John's premises, we went in there and looked at various aspects of needed quite a lot of work to be done. No parking facilities close by, and we decided it was not in our interest to relocate to that particular location.
There was a possibility of the building being demolished that seemed to have put the Taradale Rotary Club into gear to consider doing something about the town hall.
Fundraising to pay the costs was set in place. Ray Turner, a local builder, made a donation of $10,000. Fundraising continued with a $250 club raffle. Other clubs were approached to help with the selling. The original budget for the club contribution was set at $15,000. Meetings were held with other service clubs also to get the funding for the town hall.
I was vice president in 1976, and I made the suggestion at that stage that we should perhaps talk with the Lions Club on the basis that if we pooled their money, I seem to remember that the cost was going to be about $16,000, their share was going to be $4,000. They thought it was a good idea, the club thought it was a good idea, so we actually got underway, and that's how the decision really, I suppose, was made to do the extension. Agreements were made. And then later on, of course, when the project was completed, they handed us a cheque for $2,000.
Kippy, one of the biggest donors was Ray Turner with a $10,000 grant, local builder. Remember him well?
He was a guy that used to always try to develop some gadgetry that would assist in putting together building components. And he came up with some very simple but very useful gadgetry that helped the industry, and it's widely produced and used at the present time.
Telephone appeal was suggested and a telethon was run in June. Many of the members assisted with this telephone appeal, and they raised over $2,000 for this one.
I had the response from one person I rang, and he happened to be a customer of ours, but he told me he was leaving the district the following week and therefore he wouldn't make a contribution. But I saw him through the shop quite often for years, and I was going to ask him when he was going to shift, but I didn't want to embarrass him.
Once the decision had been made to complete the changes to the hall, we then had to get somewhere to meet over the next few months. And the suggestion came up that it should be the Church Hall in Church Road in Taradale. Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Nairn were the two caterers in those days. They seemed to be quite comfortable from memory that we should move over there and that they'd continue to do our cooking for us, which they did over quite a number of months.
The Taradale Rotary Club moved out of the Town Hall premises in January 1977 because of redecoration and redevelopment, and so we moved here to All Saints Parish Hall, which sufficed right through to the end of August, and it was a very suitable place for us to meet. And at that particular time, three presidents involved were Derek Ricketts, Gil Cooper and Bob Twaddle. So gentlemen, let's go inside now and have a look at the place where we met so many years ago and bring back the memories. Gentlemen, we're now at All Saints Parish Hall in Taradale, of course, the place where we came to while our renovations were being done. But first of all, how did the change go? How did the club fit into here?
Well, from memory, they fitted in very well. The first thing I remember, of course, is that it was so large. I can remember two memorable meetings in this hall. One is that we had Janie Grant came here as a guest speaker. Janie had recently been to Japan, made a great impression on the meeting. Another occasion was when we had the GSE team here from Worcester in England.
Well, after the shoebox we were in down at the town hall, the space here was quite tremendous, and our problems were all over in that respect.
The ladies were wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
And of course that was an end of an era too, because the ladies who were with us for so long, they decided they wanted to retire.
Mrs. Nairn and Mrs. Johnson had been with the club for many, many years. Wonderful people beforehand. We were so fortunate in our club to have such wonderful people look after our needs.
As far as the ladies were concerned, I'd located, Shirley was in charge of the canteen at the high school, and I asked her if she'd be interested. We'd had a job thinking of somebody, and she had done some little catering on the side, and she had a friend with her, and they said they'd give it a go, and they gave it a go down here.
Yeah. And then the big move back to our original premises, redone, revamped in late August.
That's right. And one of my recollections of that of my year back in there was we didn't have a sound system, and a namesake of mine, Warren Cooper, I think it was, decided that we would get something, and he organised the sound system from broadcasting, and the biggest regret of my life was I never got to use it because it wasn't operating until Bob came in after me.
Shirley and Gail, it's been a wonderful association. It's been, 30 years? And what a wonderful time it's been. Green peas and all, it's been superb.
Huge amount of peas.
Now, the inside story, what will we really like to deal with?
Personally, actually we both agree on this, that we really loved you guys, because for some reason or other we were never ever the cooks. We were still people in our own right and were treated like that. We were never ever made to feel as though we were inferior to members or anything like that you can get in kitchen staff, and we were only kitchen staff.
They're special friends. It's a wonderful achievement, serving 80 to 100 meals every night, all within a short time frame.
Well, the very first one we had back in this hall was a ladies' night. I can't remember the numbers, but somewhere around about the 100 mark, is in my mind, and it was chicken fricassee, and it was $1.60 a head. The week before, we had been in the church hall, maybe as a dummy run or something, I don't know, maybe the other ladies wanted to leave. My records only start from in this hall, and we have every meal we've given you since for 30 years.
You mentioned you keep records of the meals we've had.
Every week.
So you've always started off with green peas, and what else?
Not necessarily always green peas. And so my argument was we only give it to you once a week. If your wives give it to you the other 6 nights, is not exactly our problem.
Well, that's when we had the 2 Rotaries. And we shopped on Wednesday, started on Wednesday, then I hopped off to golf on Thursday morning. And in the early years, Shirley worked at the girls' Taradale High School. And we shot down here at 1:30 until about 8 o'clock.
Long days, long days. Any special moments?
Yes, going out and doing out catering. We went to Dylan's Orchard at Parkawai.
Good.
And I can't remember if it was a birthday party or a Christmas party that you had, and it was at Brian Dillon's.
Wonderful.
And going out and doing places like that, rural nights and different things like that, we rather loved that.
It's been a wonderful association through the years, and it has really been very good friends. We thank you for that too, and your contribution to the Rotary Club.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In 1968, the Taradale Borough Council was amalgamated with the Napier City Council, and with that went the ownership of the administration of the Taradale Town Hall. However, times had changed dramatically, and the hall was attracting dwindling patronage as its facilities were out of date. Being a burden on ratepayers, the council approached the Rotary Club of Taradale in 1982, and an informal contract was entered into, whereby the club took over the administration of the hall. Club directors, under President Peter Simons, set up a town hall committee and appointed Arthur Stafford as the hall convener. The club was to retain any profits it made. By 1987, it was able to report a $12,000 profit, but it was clear that more patronage could be attracted if the facility was upgraded.
I got quite involved with the hall because my mother was in the Women's Institute and they ran flower shows, and I think I won some prize for some pikelets that I made.
Amazing talent!
But it was a very popular place for the school ball every year. It was very popular on the flower show, as Jim has said. It got very popular in the war years too, farewelling the troops to the last war, and the war boys that came home afterwards too.
Well, do you have recollections of what happened in those earlier days?
Yes. I used to come here to the different dances, and they were really good, and also it was used as a theatre, picture theatre for the locals, and the chairs used to be right across here. They used to have them all loose, and the projector was up at the top here, and Clary Workman was the projectionist, and that's usually on the Saturday and the weekends that the films were on.
It was a bit of a bug house actually. My mother wouldn't let me go to it.
In 1987, President Brian Nielsen started the process of negotiating with a reluctant City Council for a secured lease of the Town Hall. The lease was finally secured under the presidency of Kevin Moore, and work then proceeded rapidly under Bob Knapstein's presidency. But let's talk to those people who were at the centre of this project. A building committee was formed to manage the reconstruction of the old Town Hall. 4 members are not available today. John Campbell, Norman Lee have left the club. Ben Edgington sadly died a few years after the completion of this project, and Kevin Moore is indisposed. But Ian Kepka, Clive Adams and Trevor Kilpatrick are here, and along with Bob Knapstein, president in 1992, we will talk to them about work involved in upgrading a tired old hall into a modern Art Deco styled one. Clive Adams, Bob Knapstein and Ian Kepka we're going to talk with now, because there's a couple of very important stages in this development of the Town Hall for the Rotary Club, or for the community. Gentlemen, first of all, why did the club decide it wanted to do this?
Because of the untidy state of the old hall, it was decided that to better utilisation of the hall needed a major upgrade.
We actually called a public meeting to try and find out who would be likely to use the hall and for what purposes. The meeting was held here in the hall, and it came out loud and clear that if it was upgraded to a situation where it could be used for business promotion, weddings, and variety of other functions, and that's when the club decided to go back to the council and say, yes, this project needs to go ahead, the community is right behind it. I was doing a job at the Hawke's Bay Club in Napier, and that was restoration of the club's bar facilities to the very original state that it was in. And Paris designed that, and it came out excellent. And when we were talking about choosing an architect, I suggested to the committee that perhaps we should try Paris Magdalenos. John Campbell then approached Paris about doing the job for us, and they negotiated some figure for the job.
Bob, how was the club going to finance such a large project?
Well, this was a pretty curly question. We only had $40,000, and there was the Paris Magdalenos drew up three plans, cheap, medium and expensive one. The latter is the one we adopted. And my good friend here, Ian Kepka, he did estimates, and the plan C was going to cost between $210,000 and $220,000. Seemed so large a sum. How would we finance it? Well, the committee got it together, and as far as finance was concerned, it was split three ways: $72,000 from the City Council, $72,000 from the Lotteries Grants Board, if we could swing it, and $72,000 from the club. So that was put to the club and the whole club, and that was agreed, and we sort of proceeded from there. We went to the Lotteries Grants, put our application in on the due date. The Lotteries Grants Board had a special meeting, and we got $59,000 of our $72,000.
Wonderful day, wonderful achievement.
Yes, it was. But the interesting thing was, how did we do it? We sent faxes to every MP, the Speaker of the House, got the Napier City Council to support us and so on, and it was very gratifying when we got.
Wonderful that the City Council was there right from the word go. You got the money from the Grants Committee, and the Rotary Club of Taradale raised the balance up to $72,000.
Well, we only had $40,000, but
yep.
The balance of it was in kind, in that labour. All the members did the stripping out and so on. We helped where we could, help cart stuff away.
We definitely got funding from the Kingdom Foundation through Stuart Roper, who was the chairman of that
Guardian
Trust, yes. Yep. And we also got $10,000 from the Green Meadows Rotary Club. $5,000 of that was to be used as a rent payment for their meetings.
There must have been some requirement by the City Council in relationship to the community. Was there some sort of meeting required, or?
They insisted that it be advertised what we're doing in the local paper, and also that we call a public meeting. And we had a public meeting of in excess of 50 people, I would say, in the hall, and we had general agreement. A lot of the questions, but the only real objection came from the Taradale Table Tennis Club, because with the original configuration they could get 8 or 9 table tennis tables. If we adopted this plan, which is the one we have now, they could only get about 3 tables there. So we undertook to try and find a suitable hall to transfer them to. But eventually they found themselves some quarters in Green Meadows East in a hall down there, so our problem got solved.
The most expensive concept was the one that we felt was the one that we should accept, because by far it was by far the best.
Is that because it focused on the Art Deco theme, or?
Oh yes, yes. That was the main thing that we wanted to achieve. I came here with the 2 Napier City Council members, Paris Magdalenas, and we simply just walked around to evaluate the soundness of the building, whether whatever we did to it was going to be worthwhile or not. And this took place, and then the decision was made that yes, the building's very sound, and yes, we can do something to it. And so Paris was instructed to carry on and come up with the proper working drawing. And after that, once everything was to go ahead, we started on the building.
Kepi was the overseer on the project, and Ben Edgington and his staff were engaged to do the building work. And I helped out from time to time. David did the joinery, Ron Newton and outside, he did all the electrical work. Who did the plumbing?
And Dave Nichol.
Yeah, Dave Nichol did the glass there. I did the organising all the trades to make sure they were here on time when we wanted them. And generally, then okayed all the accounts as they come in, ordered all the materials. I used to meet with Ben, and then he would say, where is he on to next, what materials he's short of, and I used to go and order them for him. Everyone got paid. They were engaged on a contract basis. They tendered for whatever they did. The only ones that didn't were Ben and his workmen, who worked on an hourly basis, and when Clive came in, those bases applied to him as well. Trevor Kilpatrick did the joinery items and also ran all the mouldings. So he had all the mouldings are native timber, tower, and the panelling's tower as well, and it needed a very good operator to be able to come up with the mouldings, and you can see even now that they've stood up very well and they're very nicely done.
We were asked to submit a price for the joinery, so I quoted the 3 sets of doors. I think probably the shutter to the servery at that stage to supply to the contract, which we manufactured. Following on, as and when required, we ran mouldings for the different wall panellings and the bar surround and those little pedestals over there, those sorts of things. As the guys needed the mouldings, we ran them for them as required. Yeah, it's all stood up rather well actually, hasn't it? The whole hall still looks pretty good.
Yeah, we got involved with the bar fridge, and the bar fridge has gone well and sold a lot of beer through that fridge. So it's all been kept cold, and we had some assistance with the air conditioning in here, with the original installation of the air conditioning. So yeah, it's all gone nicely. But as I mentioned, we're sitting in front of this wonderful bit of glasswork, which was originally the main entrance way to the hall. When you come into the pictures or the fridge or whatever, that's the way you came in. But the glasswork is exceptional, and I believe it's been provided by the shopping centre. What's the story behind that?
Taradale Shopping Centre Association, that's what they were called at that particular time. That was their contribution towards the project redevelopment. David Nichol was commissioned to do it, and David did tell me that he did it for them at cost.
There was one interesting thing on the floor of the entrance foyer, which was pretty small, was a sunburst Art Deco, and they successfully lifted it and sat in the portico on the west side of the building.
The toilet block actually was where the present kitchen is, and then we decided that that wasn't a suitable place for it, so it had to be relocated into the foyer. So the new toilets are in the foyer, and the wall was pushed out to create the kitchen space and a store behind the bar area.
I think what I recall was when Ben had formed all this arch here and Paris Magdalenas came in and said he didn't like that, he wanted it reconstructed, so Ben had to tear it down and start again. I know we had to change some wall colours from when Paris didn't like them at our expense. All those goods for the kitchen came from Gisborne from a dispersal sale. When Colin, the publican of the Taradale Hotel at the time, and he went and bought all this gear at auction, gave us the opportunity to take what we wanted, which was the dishwasher upstairs, the dishwasher downstairs, the oven downstairs, 2 glass washers, that's right. So he gave them to us at a very reasonable price as his part of his contribution.
Wonderful.
Ben had done that step ceiling, and the tiles were up there, they're sort of plaster, and the City Council, of course, maintained the outside of the building, so in their wisdom they decided to water blast the roof and repaint it, and immediately they did that. The roof was rotten on the laps, so the water came in on the acoustic tiles, and there was a bit of tar and feathers at that stage.
I can remember distinctly problems in the foyer.
Well, when it was designed and constructed, the plates for the walls set directly onto the floor without, and no flashings were provided because Paris at the time wanted a clean plaster finish. But in the first heavy rain, the whole foyer was a flood. So we engaged a lot of different specialists to treat this problem, and after 2 or 3 goes, it became apparent that they couldn't fix it. So finally, I think last year, which is 2008, the place was ripped apart and redone properly with the flashings and the cavity between the linings and the walls.
70 years, Kibby.
That's right, and now it appears.
We've got it right.
It appears to be okay.
At the expense of the new Napier City Council.
Yeah, that's right. When the air condition was proposed for it, and the quotation we got was around about 20,000, and the figure was just beyond us. We couldn't do it, so at the time we decided that we would just put all the ducting in and just bring in fresh air, more or less ventilation only. So we did that, but after the first summer, of course the ventilation was drawing in warm air from outside, and everyone was sweltering in here, so that proved to be wrong, and very soon afterwards we somehow found the money and we put in the proper air conditioning system.
I thought the whole project would be done in my term, but it never quite made it.
Changeover was actually in another venue, wasn't it?
Yes, in Taradale Town Hall, because
Taradale High School Hall.
the high school hall, because the halls weren't suitable, you know, for the numbers.
We did. We completed it pretty much on changeover day. We worked in our working clothes till nearly time to go home and get changed to make sure it was ready for changeover night. I can remember Kevy at one stage saying to me, "We won't make it tonight," and I said, "We bloody well will, Kevy. We have to, but we've got nowhere else to go."
It must have been a huge night as far as emotions and achievements and pride and...
Oh, it was, it certainly was.
And then on the 20th of August 1992 was the official opening held in the afternoon, midweek. And here was the Mayor of Napier.
Mayor of Napier, Alan Dick. Contractors that work on the job, they were invited. Any club members that wished to be present were invited. Paris Magdalenas was here, and he spoke on the project and commended the club on their achievement.
He got a Hawke's Bay Award, and then he got a National Award, won a top Resine Paints Award for the interior decoration.
They've got a winner.
And subsequently, I think in your year, Clyde, the hall got the top district award for community project. Now I think that's a very important.
That's a huge achievement all round, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
one of the achievements all round.
Absolutely.
So Clive, it was only 2 years after the completion of this major project, the lower town hall, that we made the decision to upgrade the hall at the top.
Yeah, that's correct. The club had decided that it was time to refurbish the Rotary Lounge in keeping with the bottom lower hall. And then again we went back to Paris Magdalena's to draw up appropriate plans. Further to that, I was asked to submit a quote to the club, and following that, after that being agreed to, we proceeded with the work. Trevor again was involved to supply all the tower extrusions, etc., that was used in the woodwork, and the roller shutter doors. John Aikman, our own member, did the electrical work, and again Denny Lepelars did the painting, the same painter that did the lower hall. I think once again we also received an award from District for the achievement that we'd created there.
We put in just over 6,000 from the club funds, and then the Lotteries Commission contributed another third probably, and the council came up with the other third. So again, it seems to me that it was about a third set up from these three organisations that gave us the 45,000.
The administration of the building from the years 1992 onwards was in whose hands?
Well, there was a contract drawn up for the running of the hall, and the main feature is that the club is responsible for all matters inside the hall, and the Napier City Council have undertaken to maintain the outside of the hall. There is some intertwining, a wee bit of overlap here and there, but that's the main way it's divided.
Any revenue that's obtained by us in running the club, does it go to the council or us or shared?
Well, that was the idea, I suppose, initially, that there would be perhaps more revenue generated and that we'd be able to use it for club projects, but really the level of use has been fairly static, and we find that any money raised has to really go back into the building and repairs and maintenance and small projects along the way.
Arthur Stafford was the first administrator on behalf of the Rotary Club of these premises, and from Arthur's time right through to now, the usage has actually increased.
Oh yes, it has, but there's also been a lot more developments.
We also now have a town hall manager.
Yes, we have a very good custodian in the hall, and Tony's job is to keep the place clean and tidy, and he also takes all the bookings, and he also links with the council if he identifies anything on the outside that may be gone awry, like graffiti or broken windows, and that is maintained through the council.
John, this is also about the only Napier City Council hall that actually makes a profit.
Yes. Well,
we're going to take a little bit of credit for that.
Yes, but
we've got a good product.
We have got a very good product, but I guess we'd always like to make more.
Of course. But it's there for the community.
That's right, it's the community. But there are now more halls, and I think the wedding venues are more widespread now, and we're competing more with wineries and that type of thing.
Since 1970, when club members found the old supper room too small for their needs, the club has been a catalyst in rescuing an old public hall and upgrading its facilities to a level where it once was, and again an attractive venue for a wide range of events. With funding from the Napier City Council, the Lottery Commission and pub charities, other service organisations and private donations, the Rotary Club of Taradale has supervised a 3-stage upgrade of the town hall worth over $350,000. The club's own contribution is estimated at $41,000, and on top of that, another $12,000 for furnishings. Through the Town Hall Management Committee, the club has continued to maintain the facility at a very high level, and so provide the community with a quality local hall.